The cafe in London was alive that evening. The low hum of voices, the clinking of cups, the warm glow spilling from hanging lights. Outside, the city rushed, but inside, time felt slowed down. At the corner table, he sat across from her, calm, steady, watchful. At first glance, it looked like two people simply having coffee. But if you paid closer attention, you would realize something deeper was unfolding. This was not just conversation. This was a test. Every look, every pause, every word between them carried weight. She leaned back in her chair, tilted her head, and asked, "So, do you always try this hard?" The words were casual, light, almost playful, but it wasn't a question. It was a probe, a test. Test 1. Ignoring, she picked up her phone, glanced at the screen, and let a silence hang in the air. A weaker man would have filled it immediately, rushing to prove himself, desperate to grab her attention back. He would have asked, "What's wrong? Did I say something?" Or worse, tried to force a laugh, to perform, to win her back into the moment. But he didn't. He let the silence breathe. He sipped his coffee.com/steady. Present. That's the first lesson most men never learn. When a woman ignores you, it's not about the silence, it's about your reaction. If you panic, if you scramble to fill the void, you fail the test. But if you remain grounded as if nothing happened, you reveal something rare, emotional control. And she felt it. Her eyes lifted back to his. She didn't expect him to hold. She didn't expect him to stay unshaken. In that stillness, in that refusal to chase, his presence spoke louder than words. Test 2. Interrupting the conversation moved on. She leaned forward this time, tapping her finger lightly on the table. He began speaking, slow, deliberate, but halfway through his sentence, she cut him off. "Oh my God, that reminds me of something hilarious." And just like that, she shifted the frame. She placed herself in control. Most men would freeze. Some would shrink back, allowing her to dominate the flow. Others would get defensive, raising their voice, fighting for the spotlight. Both reactions are weak. Both reveal insecurity. But, he simply paused. He looked at her, calm. And with a subtle smile, he leaned back, giving her space to finish. No frustration, no neediness, no visible sting, just presence. When she was done, he nodded slowly and replied, "Interesting, as I was saying," and he picked up right where he left off. Smooth, unbotthered. Frame intact. That is the art of verbal power. You don't fight for attention. You command it by not breaking. She blinked, surprised. She had thrown and he didn't even flinch. For the first time, she felt the gravity of his composure. Test 3. Teasing. By now, she was leaning in, but she wasn't finished testing. Women rarely are. She smirked and tilted her head. "You know, you talk like you're trying to sound mysterious. Do you practice in the mirror or something?" Her tone was playful, but her eyes, they were sharp. She was watching, waiting, studying his reaction. This is where most men collapse. They defend themselves. They protest. "No, I don't do that. I'm just being myself. Why would you say that?" Or worse, they try to fire back with fake confidence, overcompensating with forced jokes. But he smiled, slow, controlled. Then, with a calm voice, he replied, "Maybe, but you're still here listening." Silence. Her smirk faded into a laugh. Genuine this time. She had thrown the jab, and he had turned it into power. Not defensive, not reactive, simply dominant. The lesson that night was more than just coffee. It was a battle of frames. Every conversation was a test. Every silence, every interruption, every tease was her way of asking, "Can you hold yourself steady? Can you remain unmoved? Can you lead?" And for the first time, he did not fold. He didn't chase approval. He didn't fight for validation. He simply stood in his masculine presence, calm, unshaken, in control. That's the secret most men never understand. Attraction isn't about your words, your looks, or even your money. It's about whether you can hold your frame when she tries to shake it. Because she will test you, not because she dislikes you, but because she needs to know if you're real, if your presence is strong enough to trust, if your frame is firm enough to follow. And when you pass, she feels it. Deeply, instinctively. Narrators, every conversation is a test. The question is not whether she'll give them, but whether you'll pass them. Presence, verbal control, power, that is the art of the masculine frame.